Welcome to EnRich Relationships, a podcast designed to help leaders improve their personal and professional relationships from a father and son team.
We each bring executive corporate experience in both public and private companies, as well as personal experience as brothers, fathers, and sons. I'm EnRich.
And I'm EnRich, and together we discuss different leadership skills and concepts that will help you at work and at home. So why EnRich Relationships? Where does that come from, and why the title? And what's the purpose of these podcasts? To start off with, I'm EnRich.
And I'm EnRich.
And we're father and son, and we both have had the experience of working in both corporate as well as in private. And I'm both fathers and have children. And one of the things we realized, both professionally as well as personally, is how important it is that all of our work together with other people is founded on strong relationships. With the last name Rich, we felt like everything is focused on enriching those relationships.
Part of the reason we felt so passionate about sharing our experiences is because of our background. I come from a background not only with corporate America, where I've worked with some of our larger e-commerce companies in the world, but I also have experience education-wise, where I have an MBA, and I have my Master's of Science in Management and Leadership. So focusing on leadership has been huge in my personal career, but I've also seen it as I've gone through management trainings. I was a participant in a leadership development program that was across the entire globe for my first company that I worked with. And then from there, I felt passionate about actually getting into leadership. I've worked in different leadership capacities, both as a frontline manager, as an executive manager where I've managed managers, and I've led teams as large as about 80 across the United States. And from there, I actually pursued a career with leadership development where I've taught courses of leadership development across the globe in different companies and in different organizations, all focused on those same leadership principles that make us great humans and great individuals.
And I think what sparked my interest, especially with Dax and his experiences, was as he was going through these courses and the subjects that he would study, there were many topics in leadership that were interesting. I've been an educator for most of my life, and my education coursework was in psychology as well as mathematics, and then eventually led to a doctorate in educational administration. And because of that, I was in a situation working with students, parents, and educators and administrators where so many times the falling out or the problems or the breakdown was based on communication, and the communication usually didn't happen because of a faulty relationship. So in listening to what was happening with Dax and as he was studying, and with my experience in both professionally working in corporate as well, it became really interesting, and it's led to several great conversations in the importance of enriching relationships.
Like my dad said, we've always come back to the importance of relationships and really focusing there. And in our conversations, we've always gone back to the idea that leadership skills and competencies allow you to progress in your career and to move ahead in that career, but it also allows you to become a better human, a better father, a better mother. While we may not be mothers, we certainly know from our wives and the women in our lives that great leadership skills makes them stronger women, just as it makes us stronger men.
And we found that a lot of times our work relationships will parallel our family relationships. That if there's struggles in our home and if there's things that are difficult there, many times that'll pour into or bleed into our work relationships or our success in our work. And so it's really important to recognize that a big key to success in both places is going to be our relationships, both with those who we supervise if we're in that kind of a role, but also those who are either our subordinates or those who are equals. And our equals obviously are in our family. So it's going to be very important that we have that same kind of a collegial relationship in our family that we have in our professional relationships in our work.
Sometimes we think when we're talking about work that there's this barrier between who we are at work and who we are at home. And we talk about the importance of congruency between the two. Being a great leader at work requires the same set of skills and competencies that it takes to be a great father, mother, brother, sibling, what have you. All of those skills come from great leadership. And that's our belief as we do this podcast. And that's where we decided we really needed to share what we were learning and what we were experiencing with others. And the way that we first decided to do that was by writing a book. So way back as far as 2018, we talked about doing a book that would focus on how do you have a hard conversation and how do you improve relationships through a hard conversation. And we'll tell you, that book has gone many different directions and has had many different versions. Probably if we listed out versions, we'd be at version 303 at this point. But we found that there was just so much content we wanted to share from that book that we had a little bit of paralysis.
And we kind of found that in doing this, as we've done the podcast, we've had so many experiences that have happened personally in our families as well as in our work, where they've just been great experiences to build on the concepts that we've felt were really important and new concepts that we've learned that we wanted to share. And so we've tried to accumulate these and put them in a form that would be enjoyable for those who want to listen, but also create an environment where we could invite feedback from your perspective as you're involved in these types of relationships, either professionally or personally, and would invite your comments and your questions so that they can be part of these podcasts that can create enriching relationships for all of us.
And that's just exactly why we want that podcast to be an avenue for you to get that quick, bite-sized learning. If you have a question on a topic, we hope that you'll be able to find the answers in short podcast episodes that we produce. And then, as my father shared, we'd love to hear from you. We have 2 sets of experiences as 2 individuals, but there's millions of other experiences from you. And we would love to hear those so that we can continue to improve our own skill sets and help enrich the relationships that we enjoy, as well as help you to enrich those relationships that you enjoy.
So we invite you to give feedback to this podcast if you'd like to do that. You can also connect with us directly via email at our email address, which is
enrichrelationshipspodcast@gmail.com.
We hope that these experiences will help in enriching our relationships, both professionally and with our family.
We also invite you to learn a little bit more about who we are prior to listening to more of our content on this podcast. You can find us on LinkedIn under the names EnRich and EnRich.
Thank you for tuning into today's episode, and be sure to check out our other episodes where we explore additional ways to enrich your relationships at work and with your family.
Before you take off, we invite you to subscribe and share what you liked from this episode with friends, colleagues, and family. Take a moment and share feedback and suggestions with us directly at enrichrelationshipspodcast@gmail.com.
Lasting change comes from enriching your relationships both at work and at home.